Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk, an inside look at Brevard College athletics. We're here at Dugan's Pub every Monday night at 7 p.m. to talk all things Brevard College Tornadoes, and hope you can join us in person one of these Mondays. We're at 29 West French Broad Street in Brevard, North Carolina. We have an exciting show on tap tonight. In just a few minutes, we'll speak with the man to my left, Coach L. Dana, head men's soccer coach. We'll also talk to men's soccer student athletes David Garrett and Patrick Hall. We'll check in with head cross-country and track and field coach Daryl Patrick, along with cross-country student athlete Gavin Morgan. We'll recap the big football game from this weekend with head coach Bill Kyatt and talk to two of the football student athletes from that win this weekend, Damon Rouse and Stefan Kennedy. Do want to thank all of our sponsors: Arby's, Jets Pizza, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium Pepsi, and Dugan's Pub. Before we get to our first guest, just want to catch you up since we saw you last. First, the football team had their season opener after their original season opener was ruled a no contest due to lightning, and what a emphatic win by the Brevard College Tornadoes, a 27-6 season open victory under the lights at Brevard Memorial Stadium over Christopher Newport. We will review that game in full later in the show with head coach Bill Kyatt. Women's soccer, since we saw you last Tuesday, if you remember, a lot of folks came on out to Ives Lamel Family Field under the lights, an event held in conjunction with Brevard College Alumni Association. It was an alumni game under the lights. A tough 1-0 loss to Salem for the Tornadoes. Goalkeeper Rebecca Rojas with a career-high 9 saves in that match. And then the Tornadoes hit the road, went to Cary, North Carolina this past weekend. Another tough 1-goal loss, a 1-0 loss to William Peace. Next up for the Tornadoes, 2 more road trips. First this Wednesday at Johnson & Wales in Charlotte. That's at 7 p.m. And then the women's soccer team heads to Lookout Mountain, Georgia for a 4 p.m. matchup on Saturday at Covenant. Volleyball on the road warrior mentality continues for the Brevard College volleyball team. Couple of game wins, but unfortunately match losses. 3-1 defeats to Greensboro and Randolph over the weekend. The volleyball team will be back in action this weekend on the road again, this time a tri-match in Montgomery, Alabama, with matches at Huntington and versus LaGrange. That's this coming Saturday, September 21st. Men's and women's tennis continuing their fall schedule. A 7-0 loss for the men's team at Virginia Weiss. The men's team did have a real battle going on with our very own Jamarcus Walker of Brevard College, sending that one into the third set. And then the women's team, a 5-2 team loss to Virginia Weiss, but nice victories in singles play by freshman Ali Kagoy and Sarah Ikavachi. Men's and women's tennis continue their play at Pfeiffer this weekend. That's a Sunday match at 1 p.m. Big results for Brevard College mountain biking, a impressive back-to-back weeks for the mountain biking program. This time they traveled up to Banner Elk, North Carolina, an event hosted by Lees McRae College. Carson Beckett with 2 race wins, cross-country and short-track cross-country. He is now 6 for 6 in race wins in those 2 events in collegiate action this fall. Another podium sweep for Beckett, Tyler Clark, and Tyler Orshell. The third 1-2-3 finish for those 3 in the last 2 weekends, and just a tremendous weekend for the mountain biking team. All in all, 3 race wins, 8 podium finishes, and 23 top 10 finishes at the event at Lees McRae. Next up for the cycling team, the mountain bike schedule will continue. A trip to Bristol, Tennessee to take on King University, the host of that event, amongst other collegiate programs. And then the big one, the USA Cycling Collegiate Mountain Bike National Championships, October 11th through 13th at Big Bear Lake, California. So a new story just dropped on bctornadoes.com with all those mountain bike results if you want to check it out. And that brings us to our guest on our left. and the men's soccer program. Want to officially welcome to Tornado Talk Coach L. Dana.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, we've had you on a special edition of Tornado Talk, as well as, SoundCloud listeners may have, heard your voice before, but first time here on the Monday night Tornado Talk, and want to officially welcome you to our audience here. Coach, if you can tell folks a little bit about your background and ultimately how you became the Brevard College head men's soccer coach, this summer.
Sure. I was born and raised in Brazil, a little down south, and grew up enjoying soccer, basketball, and track and field. But in Brazil, soccer is king. And then when I started working at an American institution in my home country, they made a connection for me to, they wanted to hire me as a full-time coach and also as a AD. But they required me to have my master's done in the U.S., so they made a connection for me to come, and I came to my institution in Kentucky, Union College. And when I got my master's and I was getting ready to come back, Union offered me to be the head coach, and the rest is history.
Very good. Well, we're pleased to have you here, and already well underway in this 2019 season. And I know it's been a challenging one thus far, tough schedule early on. The only home match that has been on the schedule in the regular season got postponed, due to lightning. That was a matchup against Covenant back on September 14th. That was postponed to Tuesday, October 22nd. So in the meantime, every match in the regular season that has been played so far has been a road match. How difficult and challenging has that been to, have to be on the road for each of these matches?
No, it's hard, and you got to put in consideration that we have a lot of freshmen and underclassmen. Some of these trips have been back-to-back games, and, it is what it is, but it turns to be that we ended up having a disparity among the quality of the previous match heading to the next match in comparison with our opponents, not trying to discard anybody's potential, but it's tough. Going on the road is always tough, and it's been hot and it's been long trips. But the kids are battling. They're pulling. They're getting closer and closer to winning, and we all want to win yesterday, but it's coming.
Well, do want to break down these matches this past week, and it started last Tuesday in DeMorris, Georgia, a 2-2 draw at Piedmont. Goals by Lucas Campos and Marquise Dickerson, and the Campos goal coming within the final 30 seconds of regulation to send the match into overtime, ends up being a 2-2 draw. Can we talk about that as far as the resiliency of the team? I know they were knocking on the door all game long, but to get that goal in that final 30 seconds to send it into overtime.
Yeah, I mean, soccer sometimes can be just a battle. We hit the crossbar 6 times, if not more, and 2-3 point-blank opportunities to score, and it seemed like it wasn't going to go in. And then on the dying seconds, literally, I think it was 10 seconds to go, we put one in. But I'll be honest, these kids already showed to me that they don't ever quit. And if somebody's going to take one from us, they're going to have to work very, very hard, and they're going to have to work throughout the whole match.
Once again, a 2-2 draw at Piedmont last Tuesday. Marquise Dickerson scores his first career goal early in that one in the 7th minute, and then Lucas Campos off a Luca Silvani throw-in in the final 30 seconds sends into overtime. 2 overtime periods of scoreless play. Goalkeeper Patrick Hall, who will be a guest later on the show, with 6 saves, and it ends up being a 2-2 draw. And then a few days later, a trip to Fayetteville, North Carolina at Methodist, another 1-1 draw result, and similarly another goal in the final minute, in the 90th minute of regulation, to send it into overtime. For those who might not have been able to see that game online at Fayetteville, could you kind of break down how that game evolved?
Sure. Just stepping backwards a little bit, that throw-in was Jackson Ritter, so he doesn't complain with me later on, but give credit to the assist. But this other game was also a little bit of the same. We had a lot of opportunities to score, and it's a little unnerving when you have those chances and it doesn't go in, and then you start playing mind games and you start wondering, what if the other team scores now, and that's what happened. But again, they don't quit. They keep on rolling. But that one had a twist because there was a point in time in which the Methodist team had a breakaway, which like a counterattack in basketball. And, we had a choice to make, or somebody had a choice to make, your next guest, David Garrett. And so he stopped the play with a foul. And according to the soccer rules, that becomes a red card, so he gets sent off. And now we're playing a man down. But had he not done that, chances are we would have been down 2-0. So now, halfway through the second half, we got to play with one less player, and kept battling and ended up scoring. And now we go overtime again with a man down, and almost won.
Could you talk a little bit about strategy when you are a man down? Especially you trailing in the match. It's got to be a fine line. You can't give up a second goal because then it's almost an impossible situation to come back a man down from 2 down. But at the same time, you've got to exert pressure to try to get the ball in the back of the net. How do things change from the coaching perspective when you're a man down?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's attitude, right? So it's not X and O's. If they're mentally tough and if they have self-confidence, they're still going to give themselves a chance. But from the perspective of tactics, what you cannot do is think that we got to push numbers up to make up for the lack of players that or space to be covered that we ended up losing. So my perspective is you secure the defense still, but you push on counterattack, because if you send too many numbers up, now it's the opposite. They're counterattacking on you. But I'll be honest, I dare, if anybody watched the game, to ask him, did you know that we were a man down? Because we had 6-7 opportunities to score from that point on, So in soccer, really, one man down is tough, but it's not quite as bad as it would have been on a sport that has less players. I mean, obviously, but it is difficult.
Jackson Riddle ends up with the dramatic 90th minute goal to tie that match and ends up in a 1-1 draw, so back-to-back draws after those 90th minute goals to send them into overtime. As I look through, these past few games, the one thing, with the exception of the NC Wesleyan game, and we'll get to that in a moment, I do notice, the goalkeeper Patrick Hall and the Brevard College defense, very much containing the opponent, low shot totals in a lot of these matches, and low goal totals, 1 goal or at worst 2 goals, with the exception, again, of NC Wesleyan. Could you speak a bit about defensively and the things that you like so far this year?
Yeah, the thing about soccer is this, if you limit the opposition number one possession, so if you keep the ball longer than they have, obviously they cannot score. But number 2, if you limit the number of shots they're going to take, you give yourself a chance, because this is not a sport that will take 10, 20 points to win. It's 1, 2, 3, so that's the bottom line. But at the end of the day, you still got to create, because it does take more than you're not hitting 80%, 90% of your shots. You're hitting 10% of your shots. So you got to create, you got to generate. And we have been, but it's a little bit of nerves. It's a little bit of technique, but it's a little bit of being young. But it's going to come. And when it does, like you just mentioned, we the other day gave 3 goals. Somebody's going to take a lot of goals from us. It's coming.
1-1 draw at Methodist on Saturday, and then a tough turnaround, having to play again on Sunday in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, against a tough opponent as well in North Carolina. Wesleyan ends up a 3-0 loss for the Tornadoes. Can you recap a little bit how Sunday went down?
No, they're the best team in the conference so far. We haven't played everybody, but definitely they're the best team we've seen. But what happened was they had a easier game the day before. They didn't go overtime. They're at home. Those things matters. But we're keeping the game tied, and then a tough breakaway put them ahead 1-0. And then we regather momentum, and we're back in the game, and we're still giving ourselves a chance. But then when we took the second goal on pretty bad call, I don't complain much about officials, but it hurts. It hurts. So now 2-0, you really got to take chances. And it goes back to the theory of securing the defense first, and now we got to take chances, and then they took the third goal. But even on the 2-0, we hit the post. It's been the story of the year so far. The post has been our biggest enemy. So had we and we had a point blank, had we put those goals away, it would have been a different game.
Next up, a trip to LaGrange, Georgia on Saturday at LaGrange. And then finally, a return here to Brevard College and Ives Lamel Family Field. Folks, if you want to come on out, Wednesday, October the 2nd at 7 p.m., a home match against Maryville. Coach, if we can talk a little big picture, and I know you're someone, even though you're new to this head coaching job here at Brevard, you're very familiar with Brevard College over the years, and as you're talking to prospective high school students, what are the things about Brevard College and the Brevard College soccer program that really sets us apart?
Well, because of being in this region long enough, it's been almost 30 years always in this area here, I can tell you that the atmosphere, the quality of the town, to me, when I recruit a kid, I want to give him a good education. I want to give him a good opportunity as far as the program is concerned, but I also want to give him a good college experience. And what Brevard has, which is way better than what I've had in my previous institutions, is that feel, a college town and close to a bigger city. And so that's one thing. The second thing is we're doing things right in this program. So, the players are beginning to get the sense that everything is going to be run professionally, and that's contagious. So they're beginning to act more professional. They're beginning to, expect more from themselves. And when a recruit comes on campus, we've had already 2-3 commitments of kids that came and hung around one day and were taken back about how everything that we do is so comparable to a professional level. So there's that. And, of course, this is a good school, so I think if somebody's interested in the program and want to check us out, I would highly recommend that and come and hang a whole day. They're going to be impressed. And
I do want to also mention, because they're in action later this week at Ives Lamel Family Field, the reserves team under the guidance of associate head coach Juan Mascaro Jr. and really doing some great work out there is that group. A large roster and a reserves program. Can you kind of talk about the role of the reserves program within the men's soccer program here at Brevard?
Yeah, because whatever the situation is, a kid never comes to a program and says, I don't mind if I don't play, right? They want playing time, PT. It's all about PT, and that gives them that opportunity. And we even have some of our quote-unquote first teamers that end up dressing with the reserves when they're not getting enough playing time during any stretch, which is good for everybody because now it raises the level down there, but also gives them more exposure, gives them more mileage. So now without it, we would be hurting. And we're playing a full schedule, and we're treating them the same way. We have, video analysis companies that we use. So does the reserves. They travel with buses. They eat in the good places. So they feel like they're in a soccer college program, which they are. And it's not two programs, it's one program, so we're preparing them for the next round.
Very good. Well, folks, if you want to check out the reserves team, come on out 4 p.m. this Thursday, a matchup between the Tornadoes and Emmanuel at Ives Lamel Family Field. And as for the Tornadoes, again, back in action this Saturday at LaGrange. And then the next home match, if you want to mark your calendars, Wednesday, October 2nd, versus Maryville at Ives Lamel Family Field. Coach, thanks for joining Tornado Talk. Look forward to now having a couple of your student athletes on the show. And thanks again. Best of luck this week.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
It's Coach L. Dana, head men's soccer coach here at Brevard College. And great to enjoy Coach Dana for his debut at Tornado Talk here at Dugan's Pub. If you want to check out the SoundCloud account for Brevard College Tornadoes, you can hear even more from Coach Dan, including a special edition we did earlier this season with the men's soccer team. As I'm excited to have these next two guests as they get settled here at the Coach's Corner here at Dugan's Pub. Joined now by senior goalkeeper Patrick Hall and sophomore defender David Garrett. Gentlemen, thanks for joining Tornado Talk.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, guys, before we get into the business of Brevard College men's soccer, do want to kind of hear from you, but especially from this guy. Have you heard Patrick commentate any Brevard College athletics sporting events?
Yes, I have. I try and attend as many games as I can. It's fun to support go with the team and support. And I hear him commentating. It's cool to see.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, if you don't hear my voice on a broadcast, as well as our friend Chuck Sebastian, who handles some of the Brevard College football games at home, you're probably hearing the man on my left, Patrick Hall, who is a bit of a burgeoning play-by-play announcer himself and has done a lot of women's soccer and volleyball and baseball and softball throughout the years. Patrick, have you been having fun with the play-by-play? Is it something you might be interested in as a career?
Yeah, definitely. It's been really fun getting to know all the athletes in the Tornadoes athletics. Yeah, basketball has been big, baseball, softball, women's soccer, volleyball. I've been doing all of those. It's really fun to actually get behind the scenes of everything and really do the play-by-play. It sounds like you're on ESPN or something like that. It'd be cool to go forward with that in my career.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning one more of your teammates, Adam Spencer, is starting to get into the mix as well. So appreciate you, Patrick, and all your help. And thank you as well, Garrett, for listening to some of these broadcasts. Now, back to business. We just had your coach on the program, and we're reviewing this past week. And would like to hear from y'all's perspective, beginning with that game at Piedmont. 2-2 tie is the ultimate result. Knocking on the door all game long from an offensive perspective, shutting them down in a lot of ways from a defensive perspective across the 90 minutes, and then that goal in the final minute to send it into overtime. From each of your perspectives, how did that match go?
Yeah, from my perspective, standing in the back, we did have a lot of opportunities to score. I think whenever we got into the overtime period, we hit the post 3 times, and the keeper made 3 unbelievable saves to keep the side into it. But, we definitely were knocking on the door. We went up 1-0, then unfortunately in the scouting reports we went over how they had 2 center backs who were pretty big and could win headers, and they both scored off free kicks, which we could have gone away with. But still we battled with it. We scored in the 90th minute and took it to overtime, and we were still knocking on the door going in overtime, and unfortunately we couldn't pull it out, but it was a good result.
And from your perspective, David?
Yeah, it was a good game all around. I'm proud of the guys for staying in it. Like Coach was saying, this team never quits. We kept fighting and were able to get a last-second goal and send it into overtime and just came out with a tie. But I'm proud of the guys for staying in it.
Yeah, in heading into the overtime, you've ultimately had to play 2 10-minute periods. Is it the sort of situation, and I'll stick with David on this one, as the field player, where you've got to really dig deep into your reservoir of energy and also focus, to continue to shut them out through those final 20 minutes?
Yes, sir. For me, I came on a little later, but for some of the guys that were on there the whole time, definitely, you have to keep your mind right, focused on the game, and you have to be there mentally, and just push through and give it all you got.
Now the next match, very similar outcome, a 1-1 draw at Methodist, and very rarely will I have the opportunity to talk to a player about a red card. And this is one of those weird situations where people are nodding their head, hey, it was probably the right play, tactically and to make. Like to hear from both of you. It was kind of a game-changing type play where, they very much had a one-on-one against Patrick, could have scored, gone up, a couple goals there. And David, you had to kind of make that split-second decision, to make the hard tackle, ends up getting the red card. Again, usually not a subject that I'll broach on the air, but would love to hear from your perspective, starting with David, how that went down.
Yes, sir. So we were down 1-0. Ball got played through somehow, breakaway. He was streaking towards the goal all by himself, and I was chasing him down. I wasn't going to catch him, so I just had to foul him. And I slid him from behind, clipped him. He went down straight red. I was the last offender, so
yeah, automatic.
Did what I had to do.
Yep, and Patrick, the play was made outside of the penalty box, so it wasn't a penalty kick situation, and kind of breathed some life. And the amazing thing is, man down, end up the Tornadoes with a match-tying goal in that 90th minute again, this time from Jackson Brittle.
Yeah.
From your perspective in that match, Patrick, pleased with how the team did?
Yeah, after we went a man down, I really thought that people were going to get their heads down, but as we've been going through this whole season so far, we've been fighting. We've been fighting this whole time, and even with 10 men, we had opportunities and we kept going. We're in their half for about 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes of their half, and they didn't have any opportunities really. And yeah, we pulled it out. I think it was a cross, and then somebody headed onto the post, and then it fell to Jackson's feet, and he just struck it home, which was nice. And then we kept our mentality going into overtime, and we still had a couple opportunities, and keeper made a couple of saves there. I think we hit the post once or something like that, and yeah, we were just fighting all the way to the end.
I think this is the second straight week I've had a goalkeeper and a defender on Tornado Talk. We had a couple of the women's players on last week, and I'd love to hear from you guys. It's so you guys work so closely together. Goalkeeper relying on his defense, to continue to shut out the opponent and limit those opportunities by the opponent. Defender counting on the goalkeeper. Sometimes inevitably you get beat. Goalkeeper makes a save, keeps the shutout in place. Can you talk about the other, and how important Patrick is to you, David, and vice versa?
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, it's like inevitable. Sometimes like they're going to break through and get a shot on goal, and we're really blessed to have one of the best keepers without a doubt in our conference, and he's like always come through us making big saves, and it's really great to have him here.
Yeah, and in the defense, it's like we have telepathy. My center backs were always talking. Outside backs are more the attacking side of the defense, if there was such a thing. But we are talking all the time, nonstop during the game. And yeah, it's kind of weird how our defenders have had the most goals on our team so far. But still, it's like we're the powerhouse of the team right now, and we're working as a unit and keeping the goals down and keeping attempts down. So I think we're working as a good unit so far.
Excellent. Well, would like to wrap up with this. David, you're from Greenville, South Carolina,
yes,
not
sir.
too far from here in Brevard, and Patrick from Pikeville, North Carolina. Both of you found your way to Brevard and to Brevard College. Patrick, a senior, David, a sophomore. Can you tell us a little bit about how you found Brevard or Brevard found you, and then how you like it here in Brevard?
Yes, sir. So my dad told me about the school, and I came for a visit and just fell in love with it. I felt like home here. I love the close-knit community. Like everyone knows everybody, which is really cool. And like, look where we are. I mean, we're blessed to be here. I love the mountains, outdoors, and everything just worked itself out. And then I realized that I may have an opportunity to play soccer here, and it's just a win-win. Get a good education and play soccer, which I've always dreamed of playing a sport in college, so it's just a dream come true.
Yeah, and 4 years are already gone past from Pikeville, North Carolina. It's out east towards the beach. I wanted to change the scenery. It's about 5 hours away from home, and I've enjoyed it. I love it here, and it's been my 4 years. I've got here through I started my recruitment to play soccer, and a small liberal arts school came across my list, and I was like, I came from a high school that had 30 in my graduating class, and I wanted to stay in that small demographic with that. And yeah, Brevard has opened so many opportunities, opened up my eyes. I've learned so much from everybody around here, and I'm thankful for my decision to stay here and get everything right and just have a great life here in my 4 years.
Outstanding. Well, before I let you go, do want to give you the opportunity to say hello to anyone who might be tuning in, or anyone you want to give a shout out or thank, for helping you along the way to get to where you are now as a Brevard College student athlete. David Garrett, floor is yours.
I just want to give a shout out to my family back home. I miss you guys. Thank you to my parents, my mom and dad, for getting me here. They've done so much for me. I'm really blessed to have them.
Yeah, I want to thank my parents as well. Literally coming to every game, home or away, and it's not a short distance to travel every weekend or every week to come to every game. And I want to thank them. I also want to thank everybody in the athletic staff at Brevard with keeping me at home and having a friendly face and opening opportunities for me. I'm thankful for that.
Very good. Well, nicely done tonight on Tornado Talk, gentlemen. Patrick Hall, David Garrett. Good luck this week as you head to another road match at LaGrange this weekend. We'll be following every step of the way. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So much.
All right, that was Patrick Hall and David Garrett, men's soccer student athletes, as preparations continue for one more road match at LaGrange. A road warrior mentality for the Tornadoes men's soccer team, as they have been on the road, it seems like, in an infinite amount of time almost. The one home match versus Covenant being postponed due to lightning, that's been rescheduled for Tuesday, October 22nd. So the Tornadoes men's soccer team at LaGrange this Saturday, but then back home on Wednesday, October 2nd. And glad to be joined now by our next guest, Gavin Morgan,
Good to see you,
Coach Daryl Patrick.
Hey.
Great to have these two on the program. Well, we're going to talk a little cross country and track and field with you two, and I've been looking forward to this. Coach, we'll start with you. Cross country season well underway.
Yes.
And the big highlight, not just for cross country, but really for Brevard College athletics in a lot of ways, has been the gentleman to your right, Gavin Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about just how he's been improving, under your watch, and also just how significant these achievements these last few weeks have been?
Yeah. Since I took over in January, he's blossomed really, really quickly. Just in the short amount of training that we put in during track, he improved his time by over a minute in the 5K. Just in about 12 weeks or so. And then, he saw that success, and he kind of saw what it took to compete at the college level. So he definitely came in shape during cross. I could tell from the first day, and we just kept continuing to build on that. And in his first 5K we ran, it wasn't the time that he wanted, but he did improve from last year. And then this past one we went to a couple weeks ago up in Berea, when he PR'd by 8 seconds on a pretty challenging course, and just happened to feel good that day, and just stuck with the game plan or race plan, and he executed perfectly and ended up running a PR. So we're hoping to continue that.
Yeah, USA South Runner of the Week after that top 10 finish at Tusculum University, the Zaxby's Open, and then, as you mentioned, Coach, new personal record for the 8-kilometer race. Gavin, 5K versus 8K. What are the differences for you when you head into a race, whether it's a 5K race or an 8K race?
Yeah, well, it's mostly just the pace, and you don't want to go all out in either of the races, but you definitely want to take it a little bit more chill during the 8K rather than the 5K, because shorter distance, you don't.
And now this course, Coach mentioned in Berea, Kentucky.
Yeah.
He said it was a challenging course.
Oh yeah.
How so?
Well, there was a hill on it. There was a pretty big incline you had to go up, and it was kind of hot, and it was in the field and tough competition. So it was pretty challenging. But we got through it.
Now, Coach, this is the first time we've had a chance to catch up since the track and field season concluded as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great success with a trip for a lot of our student athletes to the ECAC championships, amongst other, accolades. Gavin, a part of that track program as well. Can you talk about, one, how the track and field season went for the Tornadoes last year, and two, for a guy like Gavin, how important is it to also run on the track side?
Oh, yeah. So first, Gavin had a lot of success on the track, like I said, improving in the 5K, and also he PR'd in the 8 and 1500, 800 and 1500. So he was one highlight, and then obviously my sprint group, my sprint squad, I call them. They did really well in the 4x1. We went to ECACs, and they won the 4x1 by by a good margin. So it was very exciting for our program, starting off on the right foot, just building that success, and all of them returned. So I'm looking to continue that, and had a couple good throwers in conference step up, get some points there with Ari Drake and Gabriel Covington. So yeah, I mean, and they're still young. So we're hoping to continue that success, have fun, but also now that they got that taste in their mouth of what success looks like, now they got to put in the work in the off season. So, and like I said, Gavin saw that success and knew what it took. So, like I say, he just hit the mileage over the summer and is ready to continue that. So, yeah.
Now, Gavin, just like I asked you, 5K versus 8K, what are the differences for you training and then also competing in track and field versus the cross country season?
Right. So, track season, I mean, the highest distance I do is the 5K. So
For now.
Yeah. But so I don't have to run as many miles as I would have to in the summer for the 8K and the larger races. So mostly during the summer, this past summer, I just went out there and I hit around 8 to 10 miles a day, and then on the weekends, on Sundays, I would try and hit around 13 to 14 miles just to keep my mileage up so I'd be in shape for cross season.
Very good. Now, Gavin, all of us who either are a student or an employee at Brevard College or even just a resident has the benefit of Pisgah National Forest, DuPont State Forest, just this natural beauty all around us, which includes all sorts of trails. And I've talked to the, mountain biking, team a bunch about how they utilize, this natural beauty. For you as a runner, do you spend a lot of time on those trails?
Oh yeah, definitely. We actually just went to DuPont the other day. Ran. It's just a wonderful place to go to and run. There's so many different variety of trails you can run, and just take advantage of all of them, really.
And do you cool off with a jump into a swimming hole or, maybe a waterfall cool shower?
I hate it, but we do have to go and take ice baths after the runs.
And Coach, if you can touch on that as well, how unique that is for you as the coach of this program, to have, this sort of natural beauty here and, not only as a recruiting tool, but, as far as the experience for these student athletes.
So that's one reason why I took this job was the area. It's just made for running, literally made for distance running. So, we utilize it every day. He's being generous. We go to DuPont every weekend, do long runs. We hit up Pisgah during the weekday, 3 to 4 times a week. We change trails every day. We go to Artlow, we go on Johns Rock, we go on Avery Creek Road on the Pisgah side, and then DuPont we hit up Guyon Farms, Hooker Falls. I mean, there's so many different areas to train there, right? Where it's not too strenuous because there are some good climbs, but in terms of good quality running, like you said, it's awesome. And like you said, it's a very good recruiting tool, but also just the people to get out and enjoy the scenery. So, definitely use that every day.
Coach, last question for you before we close things up with Gavin. Coming up next is head football coach Bill Kyatt, along with a couple of football student athletes. They had a big win this weekend at Brevard Memorial Stadium. But I want to talk to you from the track and field perspective. There's several of those football student athletes are a big part of the track program. A lot of universities, they kind of run hand in hand. How important is that for you from your perspective, to be able to work with the football team here and, have some of these student athletes utilize the track and field program?
Yeah, I mean, first I want to thank Bill for letting me do that. He's been a tremendous help in letting me use them in a sense, but also they want to do it as well. They enjoy it. I've had several of them come up to me like, hey, I can't wait to do track this year, and it's a new freshman or a sophomore, young kid. It definitely helps keep them in shape for football, especially if they're more of a football person. And plus they like to show off their speed or how far they throw. Track's a good way to utilize their talents. And so that's what I really try to express to them is like the beauty of track and field is like there's always an event for you. There's always something for you to do, whether you're a jumper, thrower, it don't matter. So, we definitely I'm very thankful to have the football program as well as the soccer and basketball. We have several of them on the team as well, and yeah, we definitely have a good time.
Very good. Gavin, final words from you, and what I would like to do is give you the opportunity, much like I do most of the student athletes who make it here on Tornado Talk, to thank anyone that may have helped you along the way to get to where you are now. You know, a USA South Runner of the Week award earlier this season. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Floor is yours to thank anyone, give anyone a shout-out you might like to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone back home, especially my old high school cross-country team that trained with me this past summer, and I'd like to thank Coach and Assistant Coach Tager for helping me to get to where I'm at right now, and just looking forward to a good season.
Very good. Well, the season will continue this weekend. A trip to Charlotte for the Queen City Invitational hosted by UNC Charlotte. Good luck this weekend. Great job tonight on Tornado Talk, and we'll be following every step of the way.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's Gavin Morgan and Coach Daryl Patrick of Brevard College cross country as well as track and field, and great to catch up with them. Gavin earlier this season, a USA South Runner of the Week award, and going to have a lot of fun breaking down this weekend's result in just a matter of moments here as we're joined now in the coach's corner at Dugan's Pub, as we are every Monday during football season, by head football coach Bill Kyatt. Coach Kyatt, thanks for joining the show.
Appreciate you having me, Phil. But before you get into the questions, I do want to let you know that I apologize for my voice. You know, I asked the players to leave everything out on the field Saturday night, and for me as a coach, I left my voice out there. So I've been hitting the apple cider vinegar hard, the honey, sleeping with a bar of soap on my neck, and hadn't quite kicked in yet, but looking forward to it. So I do apologize for the raspiness of the voice.
Not a problem at all, and totally understandable after an emphatic 27-6, what was the season opener for the Tornadoes, in all earnestness, over Christopher Newport, a 27-6 win. Coach, down 6-0 at halftime, 27 unanswered points, just a flurry of offense, but also just a shutout on the defensive side. Can you talk about that change in momentum and perhaps where the switch was flipped in that game, was just completely turned upside down and ultimately in favor of the Tornadoes?
Well, it's interesting that you use the word momentum, because we as a coaching staff actually felt like there was really never a change in momentum. Yes, it was a 6-0 game, but it was more of a battle back and forth. And that offense didn't quite execute as beautifully as we hoped they would have in the first half. Plays were there to be made, and they just weren't made accurately in that first half. So once we got to the halftime, I let the team know this is a football game, and this is our game to win, and we are going to go out there and end up with a victory when the time is up. And at no point did I ever feel the energy shift in any way where things were going to go south for us.
Would like to start on the defensive side of the ball. You know, 27-6 result, no touchdowns allowed, a shutout from midway through the second quarter through the final whistle of the game. Guys like Stefan Kennedy, who's going to be a guest later on the show, and Chris Diaz with big nights from the linebacker position. 3 interceptions, Quentin Jackson, Wesley Ross, Antonio Williams Jr., which, certainly, changed and stopped a lot of those drives for Christopher Newport. Can you talk about the defensive side and just how big they came up on Saturday night?
Well, with the change at the helm with Coach Jakes, it's really difficult for Christopher Newport, who is an outstandingly coached team, to prepare and get a beat on Coach Jakes and how he thinks and how he operates, because there's really not a whole lot of film for them to study.
Sure.
So now a whole lot has to take place during the game. So incredible job by the defensive staff to prepare a game plan. Now we get to the players to execute. So you mentioned Stefan Kennedy. Think about this. With his tackles for loss and his sacks alone, that's over 30 yards in field position. So that's 3 first downs right there just with one player. And then Diaz racking up the tackles because he's where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. Okay, now you talk about the interceptions. So you have Wesley Ross, who you've had on the show before, and it's his intelligence that allows him to make so many plays, so he's right there to make the play. Quentin Jackson, a very athletic play to make that interception. And then Antonio Williams, well, before you get to Antonio, you got to get back to Stephon Kennedy. He's the one that batted the ball in the air to allow for the interception. And it was that kind of night for us as a team where things were just going our way. So, yes, we did a wonderful job of powering through things and being a great team. But along with that, you do need a little bit of luck on your side. And it was one of those from the opening coin toss. Okay, even though we don't get to call it, everything went our way. From being able to defer and which way we were receiving the ball, all the way to having, 2 chances at pick sixes by the opponent dropped. We had receivers for Christopher Newport slipping. We had a shank punt that rolls an extra 20 yards for us. We have a kickoff that bounces an extra 40. So it was just that kind of night where things were going in our favor.
Now to the offensive side of the ball, and kind of a different side of Dalton Cole than we've seen to date, where his legs got it done in many situations. A career-high rushing for Dalton Cole, 16 attempts, 100 yards. Take out the sacks, even a bigger total for Dalton Cole. Can you talk about that side and, perhaps, how he delivered on the, running the ball?
Well, very interesting game. Both quarterbacks were the leading rushers, and both quarterbacks, obviously, the leading passers in the game on both sides of the teams. But as far as Dalton's concerned, if you watched what he did at West Henderson in high school, he was a running quarterback. Okay, and
they ran the option,
and he was able to do some incredible things with his feet. Now, the style of offense that we were running here in 2017 before his arrival was an entirely different style. But once we got here and we saw his athleticism, and we just knew that he would be able to do great things within the offense. And last year, I've spoke to you about this before, how it took a little bit of time for him to learn it, but we knew that he was capable of doing so. And that's why we just kept catering things to his skill set and then slowly added things. And this season, we were hoping that he was going to be able to pick up where he left off. But we do have a lot of changes within the offense. And so for the game plan from 1 week against Apprentice School looks entirely different than the game plan against Christopher Newport. So there were some things that Christopher Newport did that we said, wow, if we had a quarterback that could run, we could have an advantage. Light bulb went on. That's what he did in high school.
Right.
So why not? So for us, we really don't like a running quarterback just because of the beating that he's going to take. Even if he's pitching the ball in an option, he's still going to get hit. Running is different than scrambling. And so there's a lot more hits inside, bigger bodies, and a lot more physical. And when you play 10 games, 9 games, 11 games, whatever you're going to play a season, that's going to take its toll on your body after so many games. So that's why, it's not a strategy that we like to use all the time, but certainly for this particular game, that was the case.
Well, and not only that 100-yard total rushing, but 2 touchdowns. He scores the 4-yard rush in the third quarter, which tied the game up at 6-6. And then kind of to cap the night off, just over 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, a 45-yard touchdown run by Dalton Cole where he's shedding some would-be tacklers and that kind of thing. Gratifying for your quarterback, I'm sure, to find the end zone with his legs.
Well, it's so great to see his confidence build as he was gaining yards rushing. So, the first touchdown that he had rushing, that was from 4 yards out. It was a QB run. It was, big, heavy package with all the big hitters in there to run. And we got some great blocks. Dalen Curtis in their whole offensive line and got him in. That got him some confidence. And then we were mixing in some of these QB runs during the time. So his one run, I've never seen anything like this in football, and I've been around it for a long time. The scramble that he had on third and forever from our own end zone. 6 tackles he broke and made 5 people miss. They only got 11 guys on the field.
Right.
All right, so that right there, my eyes were wide open saying, wow, we've got something special here. And then the run that you talked about at the end, You talk about willing yourself into the end zone. He was not going to be denied, and it didn't matter what was in front of him. It wasn't going to stop him.
Do want to talk about a couple of passing plays at the same time. A 58-yard touchdown pass to Cortez Scales Jr. That put the Tornadoes up 20-6. And then also a 74-yard pass to Brandon Norris, which set up that short touchdown run by Dalton Cole. Can you talk about those two explosive plays for the Tornadoes?
Okay, so the touchdown pass to Cortez Scales, that got to a point in the game where we were running the ball efficiently, extremely well. So now Christopher Newport started bringing all of their defenders down as close to the line of scrimmage as they could to stop that run. And based on the time left on the clock, they knew that we were trying to run that clock out. So it came to the point where, hey, if we can go over the top of these guys, so all it was we pretended as if we were going to run and let Dalton roll right out, and CJ was wide open because everybody was there to stop the run, and it was a nice simple pass over the top. And there was a lot of space to run. He still had to get a block from on the outside from one of his receivers, but that allowed him to score. Now, tell you a little secret here, all right, about our pass to Brandon Norris. All right, so we signaled in a play that we had wanted, and there was some miscommunication. Anyway, a play that I had wanted to call wasn't the actual play called. But as the head coach, I watch and see what's taking place out on the field, and I say, okay, well, with the personnel that we have out there, we can still run this. So it's not like I had a whole bunch of big guys out there. We're running long passes or. So because of the personnel I knew I had out there, I said, okay, we're going to be okay on this play, and we'll let it ride. So another thing, with these things that were going in our favor all night, it was just it was meant to be that we were going to win this game. So that was a particular play that we had put in toward the end of last year, and Dalton Cole really understands that play and how to read it based on what the defense gives him. And he threw a beautiful pass, looked the safety off one way, throws it the other way, and the safety tried to get there just in time, but Brandon Norris, completely fearless. I don't know if you ever watched him field a punt in that game, but he is fearless, and he went up with two defenders right there and made an excellent catch, and then the run afterwards. And, there was a lot of yak yards, they call them, yards after the catch. So he made that catch and ran a long way. And, heck, I had so many guys jumping in front of me, I thought he was in the end zone because our guys were celebrating. So that was really wonderful to see.
Well, you mentioned rushing the ball effectively, and it wasn't just Dalton Cole with his 100 yards, but also Damon Rouse, who's going to be a guest on the show, 8 carries, 40 yards. Gerald Hines had a 37-yard rush. Jamie Turner, 5 carries for 25 yards. Could you talk about those players a bit?
And look at that. And when you look at total yards, you also want to look at yards per carry. And all of those, if you would have given them 3 times, they're all first downs. So I mean, if you're averaging 5 yards a carry and you hand it to them 3 times, that's 15 yards. That's a first down. And so when it comes to Rouse, and I'll let him speak for himself when he comes up here, but what incredible vision and anticipation. And he's the kind of running back that as a blocker you love to have because he understands the concept of the play to be able to draw all of the linebackers and linemen to the players that are blocking for him to make their blocks easier. And, as a former tight end, I'd have to be in there blocking somebody, and I know where this back should be going. Then all of a sudden my defender's running over there, and I'm wondering, why is he going over there? And I watch the film, well, the back went over there. Why did the back go over there? So Damon is incredible with setting it up and then going to the right spot because he understands. And to watch Jamie Turner run, boy, you talk about a power back, all right? So, when I think of guys like Walter Payton and Earl Campbell who, demolished the player on the other side, I would be fearful as a cornerback or a safety that I have him coming at me all the time. And just very powerful runner. And then Gerald Hines, what a smart player. So when we were recruiting him, because he actually knows Tyler Gregory, but Tyler Gregory, a running back and tight end from the past, a lot like that with his brain and how he plays and how he thinks, and then add the element of being a tough runner. And so he's going to be able to do some great things for us as this season goes on.
Well, it takes all three phases to put together a victory, a 27-6 win. So I do want to touch on the special teams as well. And, one big play in particular at the end of that first half, a blocked field goal attempt, to keep the game, in check at 6-0. And then, some good work throughout the game. The one number that caught my eye, Jackson Youngblood, 4 punts within the 20-yard line, always helps matters. Can you talk a bit about the special teams?
Right. Well, again, Coach Gavea, I can't say it enough about him and why I put him in that position with his history from Virginia Tech and Frank Beamer and the special teams. So he's always going to have an incredible plan. But he also looks through every snap of these special teams to find who is the right player to put out there. So the scheme is only good as the players running it.
Sure.
And so he now has learned these players, especially ones that are new to the program, and we do have a significant number that is their first time here. And it's difficult to evaluate in practice, going against your own guys. You really need to see some live things. So the scrimmage against Southern Virginia helped tremendously. The no contest against Apprentice School. Okay, now I know who to put in these places. So to be able to take advantage of things that Christopher Newport did with their field goal protection, now you know the right players to put in the proper spots to be able to get in there to make that block. Now it takes a whole lot of effort and will as well, but that allowed that to happen. And Jackson Youngblood, I mean, if you watched his high school film, you would know why he was able to do that. So that didn't surprise me. It was just enjoyable for all of these phases to be a part of a night game. There, for some reason, there's this level of importance to the game all of a sudden. I mean, think about it in college football or in the National Football League. Oh, it's the prime time game. Now all of a sudden, it means something more. And so these kids just knew that about this game, that all of a sudden we're in the prime time. And they elevated their game so much higher than I could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, had to be gratifying, Coach. And against a very formidable, we talked about it last show, Christopher Newport team, the record is not indicative to, how strong of a program that is, and an impressive 27-6 win by the Tornadoes. Now, back to business this week. Trip to Allen in Columbia, South Carolina, non-conference foe, but certainly after a big high this past weekend, teams got to get focused again for another non-conference opponent, this time on the road.
Yeah, you could have come in and spoken to the team today on my behalf. That's what I said to them was, think about college football, okay, and an FCS team, Division I AA. Can go out and beat an FBS team, a Power 5 team from the SEC. And wow, what an incredible victory. And they're riding high. And then all of a sudden the next week they play an opponent that on paper is more on their level. And all of a sudden they lose the game.
Yep.
And you wonder, wait, how is that possible? How could you beat that team and then lose by such a large margin to this team? And for our guys, I explained it to them the no contest against Apprentice, 17-0 Brevard first quarter, 20-19 Apprentice second quarter. So, my biggest fear as a coach would be to have these players, after leaving everything on the field, I mean, there was completely drained after that game, to now say to themselves, wait a minute, we played Allen last year. I remember the final score against Allen last year. It was a significant victory, large margin. And we just beat Christopher Newport. We don't have to work so hard.
Right.
And if anything, this is the week where they have to work harder than they ever have before. The focus has to be greater. And so I just wanted to make sure, and that's why I talked to the team today about it, because I can't let it go astray now. Then it's too difficult to reel in toward the back end of the week. So I think the players did receive the message, and we went out to practice this afternoon, and I thought we were extremely focused. But this Allen team now, they've had 2 games so far. They played Division II, Clark Atlanta. Clark Atlanta, they beat a Division II team in Week 1. Week 2, they play Livingstone, Division II team. They did end up losing the game, but only 21-7. So that's 2 solid Division II opponents, and they played very well against them. So for us to look back on last year's game would not be the right thing to do because
Right.
this roster for Allen, there are some players that are still there, but there is a whole lot of changes on that roster as well. And when you see these guys on film, they are physical, they're big. Okay, on defense, they got some long, rangy players that we haven't gone against, in our sessions so far this year. Offensively, their quarterback, accurate passer, very athletic, and they have some playmakers on the outside, which are spooky, which means they have guys that can get the ball in their hand and could go 80 yards just on one play, and then all of a sudden the game changes that quickly. So that's what we're looking at with the opponent, and it's our first time on the road. So we do have a lot of freshmen that are playing, so this would be their first time going on the road. And not to mention, I looked at the forecast, it said 95 degrees and sunny. So.
Well, despite the 95 degrees and sunny, I do want to encourage fans, if you want to hit the road, it's not all that far down in Columbia, South Carolina, 5 p.m. kickoff at Allen University. The Tornadoes trying to keep these winning ways going after the big 27-6 win over Christopher Newport. Coach, thanks for coming on the show despite, wearing your voice out, over the weekend. But just congratulations to you and, the entire program on a emphatic 27-6 win against a very tough Christopher Newport team. And good luck this week on the preparations for Allen.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Phil.
Thanks, Coach. All right, head coach Bill Kyatt breaking down that win over Christopher Newport and also giving us a preview of what to expect against Allen University. And we'll then bring on a couple of the stars from this weekend's win over Christopher Newport. Looking forward to these two guests joining the program. All right, joined now by sophomore running back Damon Rouse and junior linebacker Stefan Kennedy. Gentlemen, thanks for joining the program.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, great to have you guys. Well, do want to just kind of talk big picture and what that game and that win on Saturday night meant to you guys and to the entire team. It had to feel great, both of you guys, in your first full game in a Tornado uniform after that weird lightning deal the week before, but got the big win on Saturday night. How good did that feel for you guys individually and, as a team?
It felt pretty good. A lot of people didn't think we were going to come here and win. They kind of had us against the odds, and the team just came out there with a chip on their shoulder, and we came in attack and followed Coach Kai's game plan, and the defense balled out. The offense started kind of slow. We came and got it because defense gave us that energy, that spark, and we did what we had to do second half to fix it or do.
Yeah, defensively for us, just Coach Jakes had a good game plan. Personally, Coach Jakes recruited me over here, so I wanted to get the first dub for him as a DC. So it was a nice game. It was fun. I liked it. It was fun.
Well, Stefan, what a debut for you as a Tornado officially. 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, just all over the field. Seemed like absolutely sideline to sideline at times. Did you feel good overall as far as your first game, and it happened to be under the lights there at Brevard Memorial
Oh yeah,
Stadium.
I love the lights. It was fun. We stress effort a lot. We don't like guys loafing or anything like that. So just flying around, making plays, having fun. That's all it's about.
And Damon, before we get to you and kind of what you delivered, from the running back position, you get a chance to see guys like Stefan and see that defense in action every day at practice. But then you saw how they got it done on Saturday night. Can you talk about Stefan and the defense altogether, and just how well they're playing?
Oh, well, since day one, even when camp started, I'd be a running back and I'll pass block or I'll go out for a run, and you'll see number one just come flying past your face. You see them boys out there just flying around. Our defense, they're really good. They're definitely one of the best defenses I've seen. And I got them up against anybody in the conference, anybody in our conference, hands down. Our defense can do whatever they have to do week in, week out. And I got faith in them boys.
Very good. Now, Damon, would like to stick with you. 8 carries, 40 yards, and you had a touchdown, 29-yard run.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
break down that play a little bit. From the moment that Dalton Cole handed you the ball through the moment you found the end zone,
Yes, sir.
what happened?
Well, we came down before in DC through the long ball. He got in the end zone. He came to me on the sideline. He said, "Ross, all right, let's turn it up now. It's time to turn it up on these boys." And came back, and Hans broke the long run, and we had been emphasizing that play all week in practice. And when Hans broke it, it just kind of flipped the switch, and I was like, it's time. So I got the ball. I seen the cutback lane, and I just hit it. And I guess everybody thought I was going to run past the guy, but I just want to go through his chest. And so I seen blue. I seen the end zone, so I had to get in the end zone.
Now, Stefan, Damon gave us a good idea of, kind of what you're all about and also what that Tornado defense is all about. Like you do the same thing, these running backs, you got to go up against them in practice, and you see the other team's defense struggle with, bringing them down to the ground. How tough of a crew are these guys?
Oh yeah, we love going up heads up against each other and stuff. It's real fun practices. It's just exciting to get to see the offense finally get to put stuff together and get in the end zone, and everybody get to celebrate. So it was just a great night. It was fun.
And Stefan, if we can stick with you come all the way from Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah, it's a long way.
And a lot of people know the town of Glendale because it's where the Cardinals Stadium is, and there's been Super Bowl there, and national championship games and all these big events.
A lot of stuff happening.
So you grew up in the backyard of some major big time football, but you found your way here to Brevard, North Carolina, and Brevard College. How do you like it here at Brevard College?
Oh, it's lovely. It's beautiful out here. I love the nature and everything around. Just love the vibes. It's real fun. I like the weather, especially, is a lot better than Arizona. So just loving it out here so far.
Yeah, we consider hot here a little different.
I know everybody complains that, oh, it's hot today, and I'm like, it feels beautiful out here. So I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Now, Damon, you're not from quite as far away, Charlotte, North Carolina, but it's a different part of the state than here in the mountains. Same question: how do you like it here at Brevard?
Oh, I love Brevard. It's great hospitality out here. Everybody is nice. You see everybody, you smile, you get a wave. You just smile, but you can't even smile back and wave. It's just, I'm here to play football and get education, and Coach Kaya has made the transition very smooth, and my teammates, my brothers, they made the transition very smooth as well.
Very good. Stefan Kennedy from Apollo High School in Glendale, Arizona, transfer from Glendale Community College. And Damon, you're from Charlotte, North Carolina Olympic High School. Since we're talking high schools a little bit and kind of your background, anybody you want to thank as far as people that might have helped you along the way?
For me personally, my head coach, Zach Threadgill, he really helped me become the player I am today. Just coming in, he had me start as a sophomore on varsity, so just getting that confidence instilled in me to just show me, I can do this. So is that big shout out to Coach Threads.
And me, I just want to thank God, first of all. Thank my family, my parents, my brothers back home, my city. This is what I do it for.
Very good. Well, last thing I want to leave with this, because it's where we left things with your head coach, Bill Kyatt, is this week. We got a road game, be a first road game, not just for you guys in a Tornadoes uniform, but for a lot of the team, who are newcomers. Yeah. A foe in Allen University, who, as Coach described, is a tough one. They're going to bring some different things that, perhaps the Tornadoes haven't seen before. Can you talk about getting ready this week, and how important this week of preparation is?
Yes, sir. Really, we just got to listen to the coaches. Stay disciplined like we stayed this week. They got a great game plan. They said they're going to come out scrappy, going to come out fighting. We got to come out fighting, discipline, do the same thing we do week by week, just try to get that 1-0, do what we do. Play Tornado football.
Yep, that's all it is. Defensively, we're just going to go in with the same mindset, just do our job, be disciplined, and just get the job done. Whatever Coach Jakes asks us to do, try to get it done.
Very good. Well, Damon Rouse, Stefan Kennedy, thanks for joining Tornado Talk.
Thanks for having
Congratulations on that debut in a Tornado uniform. We're thrilled to have you guys here at Brevard College.
Thrilled to be here.
We loved watching that, result unfold on Saturday night. And you guys, the football team has helped electrify, campus, on this Monday. But good luck this week. Keep on working hard as you head into Allen. And thanks again for joining the show.
Thanks for having us. Hopefully we get to be here again.
All right. Damon Rouse and Stefan Kennedy, great job on their Tornado Talk debut. And a great job this weekend for the Brevard College Tornadoes football team. A 27-6 win over a very formidable Christopher Newport squad. Congratulations to the Tornadoes, who will now turn their attention to Allen, a 5 p.m. game this Saturday in Columbia, South Carolina. Do want to thank all of our guests, head coach L. Dana of the men's soccer program, and also men's soccer student athletes David Garrett and Patrick Hall, head cross country and track and field coach Daryl Patrick, along with student athlete Gavin Morgan, head football coach Bill Kyatt, and football student athletes Damon Rouse and Stefan Kennedy. Want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Jets Pizza, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingles, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium Pepsi, and the home of Tornado Talk, Dugan's Pub. Some home events coming up in the next 10 days or so, beginning with this Thursday. Coach L. Dana described in detail the Brevard College reserves team for men's soccer. They will be in action this Thursday at 4 p.m. versus Emmanuel at Ives Lamel Family Field. The women's soccer team, their next home game is next Tuesday. That's Tuesday, October 1st versus Piedmont, 6 p.m. at Ives Lamel Family Field. And then men's soccer, the first team, they'll be in action at home on Wednesday, October 2nd versus Maryville at Ives Lamel Family Field. Hope you can come on out to one of those soccer matches. Men's tennis, they'll be at home on Saturday, October 5th versus Emory and Henry. That's at 1 p.m. at McCoy Tennis Complex, and that kicks off a homecoming Saturday, which is highlighted by the Tornadoes hosting Maryville in the homecoming football game, 3 p.m. Saturday, October 5th. Mark your calendars and make your plans to come on out to Brevard Memorial Stadium for the Tornadoes in Maryville on homecoming. Make sure you go to www.bctornadoes.com for all your news, stats, scores, and information. And be sure to follow the Tornadoes on social media at BC Tornadoes on both Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to like the Brevard College Athletics Tornadoes Facebook page along with the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. Thanks again for joining us for another edition of Tornado Talk. We'll see you next Monday night right here at Dugan's Pub. Go Tornadoes!